Welcome to I See You, a podcast where we know that human connection restores mental health and resilience. I'm your host, Julie De Jesus, and I see you. Let's be friends. My word, we are back. Hey everyone, welcome back to I See You, the podcast. This is season 3, and I am your podcast host, Julie De Jesus. Oh my gosh, that's not how you say it. It's Julie De Jesus. Julie De Jesus. De Jesus. Yep, it's Julie De Jesus, and I am still learning how to say that last name. I'm figuring it out. It's gonna be good. You guys, I want to start with the story. I want to kick off this season with the story. It's been 4 years. I'm so excited, and we'll get to business in a second. But a few years ago, my daughter Lydia was sitting next to me in a church pew, and I told her she couldn't do something. I think she was trying to stick her gum on the back of the pew in front of us or something, and I told her no, she couldn't, right? How dare I? And she stomps her way out to the aisle. There's like this aisleway, right? You can picture next to these pews. Please put yourself in my situation here. So I'm looking over her. She stomps over to this aisle, and she folds her arms and just looks and glares at the speaker. And like the really good mom I am, I pulled out my phone very sneakily and I snapped a picture. I was like, oh yeah, that's going on the wedding video one day. Just classic Lydia move. So funny. Kids are so funny when they're at that age. And it was interesting because later that day, I looked back at that picture and I was just kind of chuckling to myself. And I actually wrote a post about it that I posted on social media, just about how sometimes I feel like we all have moments and times in life where we feel obstinate against what's happened. We're like, no, this isn't what I planned. I had an idea for what I wanted in my life. And now I'm like, no, like I'm just denying it. This isn't going to happen. And so I'd written a post about, I wonder what that must be like. For me, I believe in a God. Other people, they believe in the universe. They believe in different scientific belief systems, and there's Buddha. There's so many different ways that we all find a bigger purpose. But for me, it's a God, a physical being. And I wrote this little post about like, I wonder if sometimes God looks at me and kind of laughs at me when I'm like, no, this just isn't going to happen. This isn't going to be my life. Like I refuse. And then it takes me that time to accept, just like Lydia was that day. So I write this post on the internet and I close my laptop. I don't think a lot about it. Okay. A couple days later, I opened up my laptop and there's like hundreds and thousands of comments and shares. Okay. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm social media famous all of a sudden. Like, wow, like, look at me. Wow. What a good post I made. Right. And I start reading them. And I wish I had the picture to show you right now so you could see it. But I think you'll be able to get an idea maybe of what the picture looked like just based on these comments. It was, you don't have your daughter's consent to put that picture online. What are you doing putting a muzzle on your child? You don't deserve to be a parent. What are you doing taking a picture in a church? How dare you? You are in a cult following Satan. That one's my favorite. You're in a cult following Satan. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you let me know. I had no idea. I mean, at first, these are funny, right? I was just like, oh my goodness. And maybe you put together already that this picture was taken in 2020 and my daughter had a mask on, right? It was during the COVID pandemic. And interestingly enough, people in the background, there are plenty of people sitting and worshiping that do not have masks on. And we're still all worshiping together, which I love. But it was interesting for me as I continued day after day, I kept getting more messages. And it was interesting to see the way that people reacted to this, the assumption that I was somehow making some sort of political statement with this picture, which had nothing to do with that, right? I didn't even realize we were so used to wearing masks at that point. I didn't even realize she was wearing a mask in the picture. Now, this episode isn't about whether or not you agree with whether we should have worn masks at certain times of the pandemic. Like, please, no, none of us want to go back there, right? That's the last question I want to ask you. But what I do want to ask is, have you too noticed some shifts in our country and in our culture, maybe especially since 2020. It's interesting. Oracle actually did some really interesting research they surveyed employees, other adults, that they said, how's your mental health doing post-pandemic? 78% of the people said they felt like the pandemic had severely impacted their mental health. 53% reported struggling with depression, 52% with anxiety, and 32% with PTSD. So like those numbers are pretty staggering, right? Why is our mental health, why do we feel like the pandemic severely impacted our mental health? Well, I mean, I think we know a lot of reasons why. A big one, I mean, you think about, how did people get through hard things in the past, right? How did people in World War II, how did they send off husbands and sons to war, never knowing if they'd see them again? They did it together. That's how they got through it. They hung stars in their windows with different colors to help people visualize, to know, hey, this is what is going on for us. And it created this community feeling of something that we can all recognize and connect to. Now, the issue with COVID, I think we could probably all agree, is what COVID created is a lot of isolation. And from that, we saw increased divisiveness. Going back to that story with Lydia I talked about in the beginning, it can be discouraging when we see the divisiveness that's been created in our culture. Here's the neat thing, though. 4 months after I received all of those comments and those things that did start getting to me, I'll be honest, these unkind comments about me and, making judgments about me from people that had no idea who I was and thought I was whatever. Doesn't matter. I get this message and it says this: "Hey, Julie, a few months ago, I sent you a message that was really mean, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And I hope that it didn't impact your family too much. And I hope that I hope you'll forgive me. I ask for your forgiveness, and I hope you're doing well." People can change. We can change. Yeah, it's really easy to get discouraged. It's really easy to find things that are wrong with people, with society. But I know that people can change because I've seen it. Now, if you're familiar with the first 2 seasons of the ICU podcast, if you followed it before and you're back, I'm so excited to have you. If you are new, we love you. Feel free to catch up if you want to hear some inspiring stories of incredible people in the world that really choose to show up and see others and have experienced it for themselves, and the power that comes from that, the improvement in mental health and our overall well-being when we choose to connect on a real human level. I would suggest all 100 episodes. But if you were here the last 2 seasons, there are some things that are the same now as we move forward, and there are some things that are different. First, very obvious difference is I have a different last name. The last 4 years, there have been incredible things that have happened in my life. What have your last 4 years been like? What are the amazing things that have happened for you? For me, I received a book contract from this podcast, ICU. I wrote this book, ICU: How Compassion and Connection Save Lives. 2 years later, I put out a children's book called Broccoli Punzel, A Girl with Extraordinary Hair. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing you the covers. And I also, along with the book, we started marketing ICU bracelets, and I started getting stories from people giving people these bracelets. I say bracelets. We don't want to say that because that sounds too feminine, because I made these so they're for dudes too. Okay, dudes, because I have a lot of dude followers that mean a lot to me. But it's these stainless steel arm cuffs that say ICU. I mean, you guys, the stories I've been sent of people like literally burying someone, with this cuff on, like, because it meant something to their group of people, or, a youth that's struggling in their ward, giving them the book and giving them the ICU cuff. Like, it's just been mind blowing to watch. And I feel so blessed that people have used something that, really all of this started from a pretty painful place, but there were people when I was at my worst, at my lowest, that chose to see me. And that's really what made me start this podcast in the first place back in 2018. And then that led to the book and all of these things. But to see people to pay it forward, to spread the light I've been given, the light that other people did for me, to see that being shared forward is just like the coolest thing in the world. And I'm so grateful for it. That is the same. That is what the ICU podcast is all about, is sharing stories about how we can show up for each other in real human ways that we so desperately need more now than ever, I would say, especially with the impacts COVID-19 had on our mental health. Some things that are new are I got a divorce in the last 4 years. I've had a lot of messages from people asking why and how that all happened and things. And that I know was shocking for a lot of people. And that is life sometimes, right? Like we see the highlight reels often on social media, and as real as we try to be, we also try to be respectful. And I got a divorce in 2022. And that has been, as you can imagine, it probably goes without saying, there was a lot of pain involved in that. And especially sharing my kids half the time is I'm not going to lie, it's been just devastatingly hard. It still is in a lot of ways. Even as we found our groove, it's a challenge. We also, we moved into a basement apartment, and then we moved into a townhome that I now live in. That's just been awesome. And, 3 years later, we're in 2025. I just got remarried 3 months ago to my husband, Daniel. And so now I have this new squeaky last name, and I'm going to say it right because my name is now Julie De Jesus. I don't know why. It's like those people that are so good at music. I obviously am not music. Those people that are so good at musicians, how they do the solfege with hands. It's like, that's what I'm like, Julie De Jesus. Julie De Jesus. That is my name now. And it's been a journey to try to find all the ways to change that. Facebook won't let me so far. Like, the government's changed my last name, but Facebook says no. So I've even sent them like my license, and they still won't change it. They think I'm making it up, and that's interesting. So Julie Lee is now Julie De Jesus, and that's fun. It's fun to have this new chapter in life and to be with someone that is so dedicated to myself and these children. He'd never been married or had kids, and he just jumped in and knew it was a package deal when he started to pursue me, and he's a fantastic human I'm really lucky to be with. And also, there continues to be a challenge with learning how to blend two lives together in your 30s. Like, that's new. And how much does he help parent? How much does he not? What's his role here? Like, there's always going to be things in life that we have to adjust and figure out. And so, because I know how impactful and influential social media can be, I think it's just good for all of us, myself included, to remember, like, lots of good is happening. And also, there's still challenges. Like, that's the norm. There's nothing wrong with that. For you, I hope you've had amazing things happen in the last 4 years as well. I hope you've had, just greater relationships more than anything. I know for me, a big reason why I wanted to 4 years later come back to the podcast is because I feel like I have been given even more opportunities to have people, to see what it really looks like to show up for people. In part my behavior, but more than that, seeing how people showed up for me through a lot of these unexpected plot twists I had in my life. People that knew me well, people that didn't know me at all, and just did it because it was the right thing to do, to show up, to connect with me in a really human way when they could have walked the other way because it was uncomfortable or they felt unequal to the task. And it's inspired me. It's inspired the way that I want to live my life, the way I want to be in my marriage, as a mom, as a speaker, as a podcaster, as a writer, as a friend. More than anything, I want to be like these people. They have inspired me. And truly, like, when you are at a low point, it's life-changing. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that in a kitschy way. It is truly life-saving and life-changing. And I've been the witness of that again and again. It's happened to me, maybe not in the same extreme way that, as I first started this podcast, I talked about hard things. I talked about suicide ideations. I talked about those years of my mental health struggle that were really high stakes. And while challenges have shifted and changed, I have still found myself needing people so desperately and badly. Even, it goes to shows, it's like, even in so many good circumstances, like, I'm never going to not need people. It's like episode 2 where me and my friend Brittany, that I talk about in the introduction of the book, like, I'm never going to graduate from needing other people. And the more automated we get, and the more we have AI in our companies, and the more I see it everywhere. I've been able to speak all over the world. Really, this break from the podcast, the world. Whoa, I wish I could say the world. Let me back up. Speaking of creating highlight reels and making sure we're being real, I've spoken all over the US, but we're coming, world. We're coming. I see companies, I see people struggling everywhere of this. They are feeling disconnected. Like, it is not just you and me. There is a real issue going on of people missing that human connection in their life and going to other sources to try to numb or to try to change. And I just want to say, you're not alone. Like, I haven't lived your experience, but I think I get it to a level. I know I've needed people. So what can you expect moving forward? With some things the same, with some things different? We're really going to hit hard stories of people that have both seen not just me, but others, and been seen. And the way that it's not just improved their mental health, but season 3, there's going to be a new focus on resilience. Human connection isn't just to help people, like, stay alive, right? It's not just for when the stakes are that high, that you're dealing with someone that's having a mental health crisis that could land them in the hospital or is going to save their life. That is so important. And I have spoken about that I was going to say for days, right? Like I've talked to that and I will always talk to that. I also think it would be a missed opportunity. There's a missing piece here of it. Also, I've seen the way that human connection restores resilience in a way that nothing else can replace. Real human relationships and connection. There is a piece of resilience that I think you cannot find unless you have those safe relationships of people that show up and that you had the habit of showing up for others, of looking outside yourself. So we're going to be speaking to mental health and we're going to be speaking to resilience and how human connection can completely restore those pieces in your life. There's a quote that I love so much about resilience I'm going to share with you here, and it's this. It's resilience isn't personal grit. It's the capacity of a neighborhood or community to respond, mitigate, and adapt to crisis. I think sometimes when challenge comes, we've heard a lot of messages, whether it's on social media or friends, a lot of messages around this idea of the hustle of the grit. And I think sometimes it's a little bit overrated, if I'm being honest. And I think the power of human connection is underrated. This other quote I want to share, it's this: being resilient isn't so much easier when you are surrounded. Let me say that again. Being resilient is so much easier when you are surrounded by the right kind of people. That's by Maxime Lagache. Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. Lagace, I don't know. It's on my Instagram, you guys. And the other one was Daniel Aldrich. Really, I'm just so excited for this new season, and I won't keep us much longer because I'm excited to jump in other people's stories. But I want season 3 to build on everything we've built in this community. And I'm so grateful for so many people that have even listened to the podcast and stuck with it when I was not podcasting. I mean, listen to this review. This 2 years ago, right? The podcast was not, it was kind of going, it was in and out. We had struggles with the RSS feed, but this girl, she gave a 5-star review. She says, I was honored to meet Julie at the Find Your Voice conference last weekend. I bought her book and I immediately knew I wanted to check out her podcast. Oh, thank you. She goes on, I'm loving the topics and I'm grateful I have found this community. I feel passionate about mental health, awareness, and suicide prevention. Bravo, Julie, for creating a space of acceptance where people can be real and share their stories. Excuse me. Getting over a cold. Her last paragraph is this: the good news is that there is hope for those with mental illness, and a big part of it is being able to connect and share with others. It is so validating to hear that others have done the same struggles. And that's really what I think it comes down to. It's combating this lie of I'm alone. I know that's, if you were to talk to my new husband now, he'd tell you like that's the demon in me, is feeling alone sometimes and wondering maybe I really am alone. Maybe I can't trust people. I'm getting to this resolve of maybe I'm too much or something. And I just want you to know you're not alone. I'm so excited. I am hosting my first cruise along with I'm bringing a guest speaker. You can check all about it. It's at my website. My website is julie-dejesus.com, but say it the right way, guys. Can't believe that's the 3rd time I've messed that up. Julie-DeJesus. I'm not editing this out, you guys. We're not doing that. We're not doing all the editing. JulieDeJesus, but there's a dash in there. Julie-DeJesus.com. If you go to JulieDeJesus.com, you'll find this super cool architect that I keep bribing to let me buy her URL, but she so far has said no, so she probably shouldn't. She looks pretty talented. Julie-DeJesus. Please join us on the cruise. If you're looking for community, man, we would love to have you. Me and my husband will both be there. My friend Tony Overbay is coming as my guest speaker. We're going to have some creative clinics and we're just going to party, and just everything we talk about here on the podcast. I want to go on a trip together. Like, how fun, right? Like, it's time to be together. COVID is far behind us. We need that in-person human connection. I know I need it. I need this community. And of course, on the website, you can find out more about what I've been doing, what I continue to do as a speaker, and as I have my books on there that you can get signed, and I think it's a little bit cheaper than getting charged tax on Amazon and other places. So please reach out. You can also send me any comments about the podcast or guests you'd like to see on season 3. I'm gonna let you know, and I think this was kind of how the first 2 seasons were. I love having people that you might know. Maybe you're familiar with work they've done. And I love having like the stranger next to me at Costco in the line who just happens to share their story with me. And I'm like, that's amazing. Will you be on the podcast? I really want this to be an accurate, as much as possible, perception of the human experience, not just people who are speakers like me, or people who are podcasters, or people that have written a book, or people that have done, so often we think, oh, I don't relate to them because they have this story that I don't have. And I think that's the greatest lie, is we actually relate to each other so much more than we think. And the way to restore the mental health struggles we have, the lack of resilience, I think sometimes we see in ourselves and in our children, frankly. I know I worry about that in my own kids. I know that human connection can restore those things. I've seen it up close and personal because it's happened to me. Thank you for joining me for this first episode of season 3 of the ICU podcast. We will see you next time on episode 2. And let me just end by saying I see you, and let's be friends. Okay, let's be real. Sometimes what I think we need to restore our mental health more than anything else is just a break, which is why I think I need a vacation. And so do you. Join me and my special guest, Tony Overbay, on the first ICU Living Cruise, the mental health cruise of a lifetime. Check out and make sure you grab those early bird tickets at julie-dejesus.com/cruise. And guess what? You don't even need a babysitter. Kids set sail free. julie-dejesus.com/cruise. In our world today, do you ever feel like real, authentic human connection is becoming less of a certainty and more of an anomaly? Well, good news. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm Julie DeJesus. I'm a keynote speaker, an author, and a corporate trainer. I speak all over the country about how to utilize human connection to improve mental health, resilience, and even work performance. If you know a group looking for a speaker, you can contact me at julie-dejesus.com.